Today's After Dark podcast is sponsored by HHNUnofficial.com, the home of Halloween Horror Nights news and rumors all year round. Find us on the web at www.hhnunofficial.com. So stop the fog machines and clear the cobwebs. It's time for another episode of the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.
Wendy Presser at Magical Journeys Travel is proud to be a sponsor of the After Dark Podcast Network. Whether you've been to Disney 1 or 100 times, there's still lots of planning involved. Let Wendy be the one up at midnight when your window opens to get that Be Our Guest reservation or that coveted Anna and Elsa Fastpass for your own princess. Mention that you heard this ad on one of our podcasts and get $25 off your deposit with any trip package. Be sure to ask about her generous onboard credits for Disney Cruise Lines as well. Find her on Twitter at WP Magic Journeys or WPMagicJourneys.com.
Warning. This show contains childish adult content and is intended for immature, mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views spoken are ours and ours alone, not those of any other bugger. If you're easily offended, we strongly suggest finding another podcast. Everybody neat and pretty, then on with the show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of DaD After Dark. I am Nick and joined, I'd say as always, but that's not always the case because sometimes people are here and sometimes people aren't. But I am joined by Mr. Dolan.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much for asking. We are also joined by P-Dubs himself, Paul Washington.
Hello, you morose motherfuckers.
I don't even know where that come from. But
is that a quote?
Yes, it's from Jay and Silent Bob.
I haven't watched Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back
and
in
in fact,
a long
it's
time.
about what we were talking about before the show started.
Ghostbusters 2?
No, Ben Affleck.
Oh, Ben Affleck. He was the bum in Phantom show. And also we have the talented and almost named like an ice cream, Mr. Chris Whipley.
I can't top what he said.
Not with hundreds of thousands. Hey! Ice cream joke. Ice cream joke. I noticed this the other week because I struggle, even now as a full-grown adult, I still occasionally struggle with pronouncing my R's, which is something I've had from childhood, and it's because my dad used to rip the piss out of me so much about me not being able to pronounce my R's. It gave me a real stigma when I was growing up. It's not the only reason why I don't talk to him anymore. It's certainly up there. And so I try and make sure I don't Jonathan Ross too much. But the other week I did almost call you Chris Whipley. And it was like, oh, like Whippy ice cream. So that's where the ice cream reference comes from. Oh, this is a good way to pad a podcast out.
I balance you out, Nick.
Go on.
First degree murder. I balance you out.
It is very true. It is like having Taggart on a podcast. Now, before we kick off the show the way we do each and every show, I just wanted to say a quick thing following up from the last show. I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to everyone who did reach out to me. I don't think anyone emailed us, but I did get a few private messages and private on Facebook and on Twitter, and some public ones, but mainly private. And just to everyone, although I think I've replied to everyone individually, I just want to say thank you because it was good to know I had support, but it was also interesting to find out some of like your backstories and your history with it as well, with having a child with autism. So I want to say thank you for that. And one thing that I failed to mention last time And there was a slight Disney connection with this whole thing as well. And that is that one of the things that my son relates to the most is Toy Story. And it's something that he has almost been obsessed with for as long as I can remember, probably about 6 or 7 months maybe. And even now, it's a thing that if something's really bothering him or he's upset, if we put Toy Story on any of them, any of the films or the holiday specials that they made, or even the little shorts they put in front of films, it kind of takes him to his happy place. So that's a reason why Disney has such an impact on our lives. I mean, I think it affects us all in different ways, whether that's a film that we love or the theme parks or something, but it's something that universally can bring people together, and certainly brought us together. But it's something that helps him connect to the world, and so I forgot to mention that, and I thought, what an idiot! How did I miss that? So, as it's a Disney podcast, but yeah, and I think some of you have said you've got similar things. So yeah, it's lovely to hear that, and thank you. But this isn't going to be a weekly thing. We're not going to have autism updates like that. But as it had been on the last show, I just wanted to kick off the show with that. And we'll now go into the show as normal with asking what everybody is drinking tonight. And I am going to start with Chris Ripley.
Well, I'm poised because you know how we are not sponsored by Bud Light.
Indeed, at the moment.
At the moment, but we wish to be sponsored by Bud Light. In that case, I am drinking a nice, tall, cold, frosty can of Heineken.
Hey!
Until Bud Light sponsor us.
Hey, get your hands off of my Heineken. One of my favourite lines from Austin Powers. What's quite funny, actually, you mentioned Bud Light, because we haven't, because Amanda's not been drinking it, and they haven't agreed to sponsor us just yet.
Sales dipped nationwide.
Absolutely. But I went into my local Asda Walmart, other supermarket brands are available, and while I was queuing up at the till, there was a standee where if you bought 4 cans of Bud Light, you got a free Bud Light pint glass. Now, we went out for a meal for my birthday with a couple of our friends, and he got his Bud Light served in one of these Bud Light pint glasses. Anyway, after a few drinks, that glass ended up coming home with us in someone's handbag. For him, not for me. So I decided to buy it. I did it the legal way. I actually bought myself 4 cans of Bud Light and got a free glass. So if you are interested in getting a branded glass, check your local Asda. That's what I say.
I thought Trader Sam's was the only place you end up coming out with the glasses.
No, only when it does a decent glass. Back in the day, do you ever remember when they used to, like, certain chains of bars and things used to give out decent shot glasses? Not plastic flimsy things, but actually like either branded or just quirky shot glasses.
Yeah.
They don't
Pretty collectible.
Yeah, and they're very easy to take with you. So, and having worked in a bar, they were always glad to see them go, to be honest, because they hated branded stuff. So you're actually doing them a favour, really. Mr. D?
Also a brand beginning with B, but not Budweiser. Bulmers. Pear cider. Oh no, it's not pear, it's original cider.
So that is the apple variety of cider.
Yep, that's it.
Is it like, I read a thing where if it's not apples or pears, it's not cider. So like all this kind of fruit stuff at the moment isn't officially cider, because cider has to be made with apples.
Now, listen, I fully agree with you, because in theory, if it's made with pears, it's perry.
That's correct, yes, that's right.
So I agree with you, Nick. This is just bad education.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just because I've noticed recently, I went into the beer and cider section, and even like companies like Smirnoff now have got into this act. Now, I remember when we had the early 90s and Alcopop, also the late 90s, and Alcopop was a thing. So you had your Hooch and your Diamond Dogs and stuff like that, and Mets. And these were all soft drinks with alcohol in them, essentially. Bacardi Breezers. And they were everywhere.
Hooch.
Oh, yeah, well, Hooch was the king.
Hooch.
Yeah. But
Asbo.
Not sure that was one, but it certainly led. I think drinking too many of them did lead to Asbos. But they were a thing for a long time, and then they kind of faded away a little bit. Like, I mean, everywhere you went, if you looked into a bar, like a beer cabinet in a pub, it would be full of alco pops rather than beer. And then it kind of shifted again. And I think now the shift is going back because, as I said, Smirnoff do one, and it's all fruit stuff. Pins do some. So I think they're going back down that route. But rather than calling them what they are, they just call them. They just add cider to the word.
Yeah.
Idra.
And that's it. So it's still an alcopop. Or yes, if it's Stella Artois, it's cider. Yeah, just very bizarre. Mr. Washington.
I'm sticking with drinks that begin with B, but I'm drinking blackcurrant.
I'm also... I don't know what it is. It's almost like an episode of Sesame Street in a way. Today responses by the letter B. I'm also drinking a drink that starts with the letter B, as tenuous as it is. You just missed that sound, but I'm drinking a bottle of Cherry Pepsi Max. There's been far too much gin drinking recently, and I'm out of tonic water, so I thought I'd give it a week off. But we've done that, so now this. So we've got a few... there's not been much in the news, actually, has there?
I've got a couple of news stories.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I know as well, and I should tease this up at the beginning of the show. A little rumour, there might be a soapbox later on in the show. Which I cannot wait for, because I'm not involved. So, in that case, Mr. Ripley, if you'd like to kick us off.
Okay, well, they're both food-related news stories.
Oh, the best.
Yeah. Did you know that there is a secret
Lemonade
menu?
drinker? Oh.
Yeah. A secret lemonade drinker. That's for anyone over 30. At Pecos Bills in the Magic Kingdom.
Well, so this secret menu, am I right in that it's not just limited to that location? Like, there is officially a kind of secret menu in a few different places?
Well, possibly, but I've got the lowdown on this secret menu. In as much as the secret menu is only available between 3 and 6 p.m.
So happy hour.
Yeah, and the secret menu only constitutes actually to one item on the menu, which is a portion of nachos, which is delivered in a wheelbarrow. So, this is true, served on a wagon wheel, and it feeds 10 people.
Now, can we just be completely clear on this point? The wheelbarrow, it sounds ridiculous, but I can live with that. I'm more concerned with what it's served on. And the reason for that is because this won't mean much to American listeners, but in the UK we have a chocolatey biscuit called a wagon wheel, which I think you'll agree, Mr. Ripley, back in the day was almost the size of a wagon wheel. Now they're bloody tiny. So
it's a space saver now, isn't it?
Oh, they might as well call it a Voulevant or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm assuming that's not what it's served on. It's actually served on a wagon wheel.
It is, and it is a pile-high mountain of nacho chips, guacamole, salad, chilies, sour cream, cheese, and the sour cream is in a ball in the middle, and then they put chilies in either side of the ball to make it look like a hidden Mickey.
Well, that's quite sweet. Firstly, I don't like this culture of putting food on wood. I don't understand this at all.
Or roof slates.
Oh God, yeah. Or I've seen toilet pans. It's ludicrous. I just don't see, one, how it's that hygienic, but secondly, I don't want to eat on a fucking bit of wood.
No.
Like, I don't. It doesn't appeal to me. I've been to like an upmarket restaurant where your food is served on a plank of wood, and I'm just like, get me a plate. I just want a plate. So all I want is a plate. Can you imagine if you started going to like one of the breakfast buffets or something like that at Disney World, and you went to get your plate, and they're like, oh no, just take a piece of wood. Where does the madness end? But the wagon wheel, surely a wagon wheel has gaps. It's not a solid bit of wood, is it?
It's a bit like the kitchen sink. It's not really a kitchen sink, but it sort of is.
Okay, right, okay, fine, okay. All right, we'll ignore that then.
This is more like a wagon hubcap, really, I think.
So, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I mean, normally when I go out, not everyone likes nachos. And if people do like nachos, like so when we went out to for the birthday meal that I mentioned earlier, my wife wanted nachos, and we said to the couple that we were with, "Oh, if we get some nachos, would you have some as well?" Because they were kind of different about whether to get a starter or not. And I'm like, "Yes, but we don't like guacamole or sour cream. We can live with cheese." So we then had to have that on the side, which is fine. Right? I'm okay with that. Oh, and salsa. Didn't like salsa. Right? Basically, they just like nacho chips. So we had everything on the side, which is fine because you could, dip. Although we did also try and teach my wife that double dipping is not etiquette. She was not having it either. She was being deadly serious about not, she didn't see anything wrong with it. But we did educate her with some Seinfeld. But so, for a portion of 10 people, what happens if somebody doesn't like guacamole, or somebody doesn't... I don't like sour cream.
Or, Austin Powers quote number 2, what happens if they don't like guacamole, molly.
I forgot about molly. But yeah, I mean, it's a big old pile. You'd have to find 10 people that all want to have nachos. It just sounds a bit ridiculous. How much is this demoned dish?
$85 US.
Holy fuck!
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, all right. So you're looking at $8.50 a head plus sales tax, right? If you're thinking of it like that, between 10 people. And looking at the size of it, you probably wouldn't want to even risk it with 5 people. I mean, it is a ridiculous amount of food. But even so, just think of that price. I paid that. In fact, I think I paid just less than that for a steak in Gordon Ramsay's, a fillet steak in Gordon Ramsay's in Vegas. But that was a gourmet meal.
Which one at Vegas?
STK. No, it's not called STK. It's called Steak. Gordon Ramsay Steak, which is in the Paris.
The Paris one, yeah.
It's got a very good entrance because it's supposed to resemble the Channel Tunnel.
Channel Tunnel,
you go from France into England. Very creative. And I went there just after it, like literally the week after it opened. No, less than that. I think it was 4 days after it had opened. It opened a week early, so that's how we managed to get table reservations. And don't get me wrong, that's excessive for food, right? And I get that, but to me, it was a once in a lifetime thing. I wasn't planning to go back to Vegas anytime soon, and it was a Gordon Ramsay, so I kind of accepted that. But to spend that same amount, even between a group of people, on nachos, just sounds to me crazy.
Plus, you're right in the middle of the Magic Kingdom. It's not. Do you really want to eat really hot, spicy, greasy food, and a massive portion at that, right in the middle of the theme park?
I mean, what's a doggy bag like? Is it a doggy sack?
Oof. You get the wheelbarrow to take it back to the TTC, probably.
Just wrap it in cling film. So how did this? Because I mean, if it's a secret menu, that means it must have been discovered, unless it got leaked. So did someone discover it? Did it get leaked? Do we know?
Well, I don't know for sure, but I do know that the the Disney food blog, AJ Wolf, she's a big fan of this restaurant, and she's forever going on about it. And she managed a campaign to get them to bring back like the plastic cheese and all the other bits that go into this restaurant. I mean, it's all right. I mean, it's not the best place to eat in the world, but it's got a huge fan following. So I think this is just something that they said they could do. They've sort of probably, this is more of a trial than anything else, because it's only between 3 and 6. Maybe it's Disney just trying to respond to the fans that really like this restaurant.
Who the hell campaigns to bring back plastic cheese?
Well, AJ Wolf.
Plastic mace.
I like Americans, but some of the stuff you guys have over there is, fucking cheese in a can. You know what? That's not even by far the worst thing, right? Has anybody seen whole chicken in a can?
Oh,
have you
no.
guys seen that? Just while you're on this call, just while you're sitting around a table at the mouse's head, if you want to Google chicken in a can,
on it
is quite something.
Is that a funny shaped can? Is it like the shape of a chicken?
Oh
Nope.
my god!
Nope.
It is a chicken.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's an actual chicken.
I'm getting rid of my phone. That's going over there.
It'll still be there later on. That's the problem. Yeah, that's a real thing. So don't any Americans that ever slag off English food, chicken in a can, you're welcome.
Adam, he's always.
I've just found it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Adam's one. I bet even he wouldn't have chicken in a can.
That's just wrong.
Oh, for some, who was it? Somebody was having a go at me about jelly deals. Who was that? I don't think it was that. No, it wasn't Adam. Who was it?
Is it Craig?
Probably. It sounds like a Craig thing. It was probably the other night, actually. Yeah, I'm sure it was those Northerners. And fair enough, jelly deals, but jelly deals or chicken in a can, which probably has more jelly on it than even the jelly deals. Wow, yeah, it's definitely something. Right, so all right, so I've made my feelings quite clear about this. Peter, I've just been quiet about nachos. Would this be something that if you was in a group of people you'd want to order? $85 worth of nachos?
It wouldn't be something that I specifically chose, but if someone else was, obviously, if there was a group of us that were going to order it, then I'd dig in. But I wouldn't bring it up as a subject. Go and order them.
What if I told you that if you eat it all, and that means lick the wagon wheel clean, you get a certificate, a cowboy hat each, and a sheriff's badge?
Oh, can I be interested? I didn't know there was a certificate involved.
Oh yeah, there's a reward.
I've not had a certificate since I did my 32 lengths, I don't think. When I was 25. No.
Last year.
Just last year, yeah. Well, I mean, who doesn't love a cowboy hat? Paula Cole once sang, where have all the cowboys gone? Well,
they're all in there.
Bills, quite clearly. That's where the cowboy hats are. Yeah, I still don't think I'd go for it, personally. I just think it's a bit excessive. I thought we was over this culture of food challenges. It seems to have hit the UK all of a sudden. But, if you think about 5-6 years ago, when Man versus Food was like a big deal, it seemed to be like, any restaurant that wanted to be any restaurant would have like a ridiculous food challenge. And that's kind of what this sounds like. But I thought that kind of thing was kind of not frowned upon, but
that's why it's secret.
Well, that's the other thing as well, because was it last show that we were talking about McDonald's pulling out, Disney and McDonald's splitting up, which is why they don't have toys anymore. So, if you think back to that was supposedly because, I don't think it was official, but, because of the timing of it seemed to be because, McDonald's is unhealthy food and, Disney didn't want to be associated with that. And, maybe it's just me being a bit of a grump, but that seems like an excessive waste of food. I can't imagine there'll be many people, even with a group of 10 of you, that would polish that off. I mean, I'm sure we'll get Craig to stick a picture on the website or something, but I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of food, isn't it? And I know this is me being grumpy now, but you know, we live in a world where in the UK we have people that eat out of food banks. America has a culture where people aren't even paid a decent enough wage, where they have to rely on tips, and also get quite a few Brits, I imagine, that don't know how to tip, because we're not used to having to tip in that and the amounts that you tip in that culture. But they don't seem to have this law in America where there's a proper minimum wage that's adhered to. And also, on top of that, there was a story during D23 of apparently cast members at Disneyland that had to live in their cars because of the wages being
Some
so
have
low.
come out about Walt Disney World as well.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I just know that's where the story was kind of based, and you know, Disneyland Paris have had their things before. But what I mean is, unfortunately, a time that we live in where there is, even in what you refer to as a first world country, people that are really struggling and can't afford to put food on the table, we still have things like this, and I just think it's a bit much.
Have you ever tried the kitchen challenge at Universal?
No, I've not had any food challenges at any theme park, actually.
Well, good friend of the show, Malaby, Evening Lee, UUOP did a challenge there, didn't they? They got some of their listeners.
Yeah, that's right. Hard Rock Cafe, isn't it? Or Hard Rock Hotel?
In the Hard Rock Hotel, yeah. So I don't know if anyone actually completed it, but you get the meal free, and I think do you get a T-shirt or something? I can't remember now. But
I mean, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against food challenges. All food challenges, because you know, some of them are things like, you know, really hot chicken wings and stuff like that, where that's something else. That's not really about excess. That's about actually, you know, having something you've got a hurdle you've got to get over. But unlimited food isn't the same. Like, in my eyes, isn't the same thing. That's a different kind of challenge.
Would you like another food-based news story?
Yeah, of course. I'm
Yes,
not against
please.
food.
The nachos kept us going for a while.
Or with that
It's
amount.
probably true in real life as well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that plate's going to look like, though, after 10 people have been pawing it for 5 minutes?
Oh,
God.
Anyway,
Too much.
moving on. Nothing to say here.
moving on. Through to the end of September 30th this year, DVC annual pass holders and members of the Tables in Wonderland membership can now enjoy 30% discount on select restaurants between 6:30 and 8:30. These restaurants include Artist Point at Disney's Wilderness Lodge, Boatwright's Dining Hall at Port Orleans, Captain's Grill at the Yacht Club. Right, just for point of reference, those three restaurants are terrible. Citrico's at Grand Floridian, Flying Fish at the Boardwalk, which is quite strange because that's literally just been refurbed, Grand Floridian Cafe, Gico, which is the best restaurant in Walt Disney World, Olivia's Cafe at the Old Key West, the Turf Club Bar and Grill at Saratoga Springs, and the Wave at Disney's Contemporary Resort.
Sorry, what was that? What was that one you said was the best on result? Greco's.
Gico,
Chico's.
the
What's
Animal
that?
Kingdom Lodge.
Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's their
Yeah,
signature.
signature.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's
Okay.
probably one of my favourite restaurants, full stop, in the world, let alone just at
Wow.
Walt Disney.
Okay.
Yeah. Funny what you say about Flying Fish, though. Because Flying Fish was like becoming the hot restaurant. And then they refurbished it.
Yeah.
And I don't hear as much since they refurbished it. And we were going to go the last time, and we looked at the new menu, and I'm sure it's good, but it just didn't inspire us, really. So it's almost like they've taken a step backwards, and that might be why it's in this promotion, because all those restaurants you've mentioned, Chris, tend to be the quieter restaurants, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Flying Fish is odd because that was a hugely popular restaurant. Then they refurbed it. It was down for, I don't know, a year. We got an ADR about a month after it reopened, really easily, which really and truly shouldn't be true for one of their best restaurants.
Yeah.
And the best thing about it, literally, was the bar next door that is magician themed. That was actually the best thing about the whole experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem to be. You know, it had a lot of buzz and a lot of hype. It doesn't seem to have that anymore.
No, I mean, it's good. It's just not perhaps as good as it used to be, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's so. I've never really understood Tables in Wonderland. Tables in Wonderland?
Yeah.
Tables in Wonderland.
Yeah. So I kind of understand what it is. I mean, it's essentially a card that gives you discount in restaurants. But I've never understood. Like, am I right in thinking it's not an official Disney?
No, it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But you've got to be an annual pass holder, I think, to be able to purchase it.
Okay.
And it costs you, is it $150?
Jesus.
$125, something like that. But then when you purchase it, you get 20% off. And I think that's food and drink. So they're obviously bumping that up now for this promotion.
You get your 20% off. I think it includes your tip as well. And I think we used to get 3 valet.
Right.
Okay.
So it was a nice little package. And then they used to do special events as well. Like, I remember one time they opened up the Great Movie Ride, and they just put tables all the way through it, and then people could dine for one night only in the Great Movie Ride.
Interestingly, that was something else I was going to bring up. Did any of you see the walkthrough they did for the Disney blog? You could actually walk through the Great Movie Ride, and they had like snacks and things in the Wizard of Oz scene. Oh yeah, when you got to the end.
Yeah, see, they're selling merchandise as well.
Are they? What a surprise there.
Yeah, like Last Wishes.
I can't remember the last thing that closed that didn't have closing merchandise. It's become a thing. I don't. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it for the Great Movie Ride. It's an opening day attraction, but it just seems odd that everything that closes now. I'm sure if they close the Rapunzel toilets, they'd have a fucking t-shirt for that. But at the same time, I know I'd buy one as well. Hello, Craig.
Yeah, Tables in Wonderland's a 20% discount on food and beverage, including alcohol.
Okay.
And it's complimentary valet parking at resorts and theme parks for dining purposes. So presumably, if you've got an ADR reservation, then you get free valet parking. Don't think it's the tip, Chris. I think that's. And it's $175 for Florida residents and $150 for Walt Disney World pass holders and DVC club members.
Oh, so you can buy it without an annual pass then if you're a Florida resident?
If you're a Florida resident, yeah.
I mean, this is my feeling on it. 20%, I mean, it's still a fair discount, don't get me wrong. But when you consider if you had a Disneyland Paris annual pass, you got 10% off your food. I don't think I'm almost certain it's not off beverages, but it's definitely off food as part of the annual pass. Now, a Disneyland Paris annual pass, they have gone up, but even a top tier annual pass is about $400 now. P-dubs, what is it?
Yeah, it's about €400. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's €400. And I mean, what's a Disney World annual pass looking at now?
They vary, don't they?
About $800, I think.
Yeah, starting price, I think, as well. Then it got up to
there's all different tiers.
Yeah,
all different tiers.
Well, so, I mean, same with Disneyland Paris. I mean, I think their cheapest one is about $150. But that doesn't give you the restaurants. That's why I looked at the top tier. But you know, essentially, let's just say you've got the top tier and it's $1,000. You've still got to pay another $170. No, so $150, isn't it, on top to get 20% off.
But you only need one, and it does up to 10 people. So if one of you's got a Tables in Wonderland card...
Yeah, but that's the same with the annual pass. It's off your table.
Right, okay.
It's not per person, so
yeah.
I would just whip out my card. I said card, not anything else, Craig. And, flash that, and again, card, Craig. And they'd give you 10% off your... I think it's 10% off your whole food bill. So I don't think it's drink as well. I mean, as a shareholder, it was 15%, which... Yeah. There's some issues about that, which I might bring up in a second. But either way, I think to charge people on top for that, I just think it's a bit much.
Yeah, it's voluntary. You don't have to take it.
Oh, no, I know. And I mean, the thing is, if you was... I mean, I suppose it depends on how often you go, because...
Well, we actually did have Tables in Wonderland once. We were there for 3 weeks, and we knew we were coming back within 12 months. It was sort of like 11 months on we were coming back, and for another fortnight, so we thought we would get it. And then when we worked out actually how much we'd dined out and how much we'd spent on the actual pass, we were sort of just under. I think we made a saving.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You have to spend quite a bit to get that money back.
And it depends. If you're on the dining plan, then obviously it doesn't contribute anything towards the dining plan. Unless you buy other stuff. So if you buy other starters or desserts that are above and beyond the dining plan, then you can still use your Tables in Wonderland with the dining plan.
Yeah.
Also, if you're dining in some of these hotels, or you're kind of, inverted commas, dining in these hotels, you're not going to the hotel to park to go to Epcot. No, you wouldn't do that, of course. But if you've got that card, then you can obviously valet for free as long as you've dined out. And that is bloody handy, particularly if some of those hotels around the Epcot area are full up with cars, because that does happen. You will get in with a valet pass. And then also, if it's a busy night and everybody's piling out of Epcot, you've got the ticket to valet, boom, you're straight out of there.
Well, yeah, and I suppose as well, I mean, what's it cost to park? Is it $20 now a day? $25?
Regular parking is, yeah. $20,
and that's in the mass car park. So you've still got that's your transportation centre, isn't it? So you've still got to get to the park from there. Whilst
didn't they start charging in the hotels as well for parking?
Universal do.
I think Disney started testing the water with it.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, I don't think it's official.
Yeah, they certainly tightened up. For, as you say, Chris, for some of the resorts that are near the parks,
you
must have an ADR. Now, if you turned up and you weren't a Walt Disney World guest and you didn't have any kind of pass, would you have to pay for parking? I don't know. I didn't think so, but I don't
know. Not sure.
But yeah, I think if you're not on the dining plan and you're going to be there for a reasonable amount of time, especially if you're going to be drinking some alcoholic drinks, then the Tables in Wonderland will pay for itself,
I think if you're
pretty quickly. I think.
Yeah, I think if you've done like what Chris did there, and you went for like 3 weeks, or you're going on multiple trips. I know that Vicky, who listens, I think she still listens to this show. I don't know. This will be a test for her. If she's listening, I think this is their second trip to Florida this year, and I don't know if they've got the dining plan or not. But if you were doing that, then it's probable that if you bought that, you'd probably have made your money back on 2 trips. I suppose in the UK, a lot of people do have the dining plan. So maybe it's appealed to those kind of people that have DVC or have somewhere that they have as a holiday villa that they might rent out throughout the year and stay there whenever. So if you're going multiple times, then yes, it probably does. And I suppose for Florida residents, even more so, because they obviously get a lot of repeat business. Okay, maybe it is a good deal after all. Just just think it's a shame it doesn't come in as part of your annual pass. But there you go. Mr. D, did you say you had a story you wanted to talk about?
Well, it's a bit of a sad one, really. Because obviously this week, Marty Sklar passed away, didn't he?
Yes.
Disney Imagineer. What with Walt right back in the day. Worked for Disney for 54 years, and is actually one of the few people. In fact, I wonder how many were actually there for the opening day of every park up to this point, including Shanghai.
Wow.
I believe he was the only one.
Possibly, yeah. It said one of a few, but I'm trying to think. Well, I wouldn't know.
Well,
but
I think Roy probably went to. I mean, I know he was there at Paris's opening, and I believe he was there at Tokyo's. He was definitely there at Disney World's. So I wonder if he may have been, the only one. I mean, Hong Kong I opened after he died, didn't it? So
yeah, and then Shanghai.
Yeah. So
but Marty was there for all of them.
Bob Gurr, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
May have been there for all of them.
So what kind of? You said he works alongside Walt and that. What attractions did he have a big hand in?
Small World. He worked a lot on the 1964 World's Fair, so the stuff that came out of that.
So Carousel of Progress, Small World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wrote a lot of Walt's scripts as well for speeches and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't that long ago he actually retired. I think it was 2009, was it?
Yeah, he officially retired from that role, but then he became like an international ambassador.
Yeah.
So he was going around telling everybody about like future attractions and stuff like that on behalf of the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah, you're never out. It's like the mafia, isn't it? You try and retire, but they always get you back to do something. I'm pretty sure it was not against his will, mind you. I think he generally seemed to enjoy that kind of stuff. But
just when you think you're getting out, they drag you back in again. And he's got a window on Main Street in Disneyland,
which is one of the highest honours that can be bestowed anyway.
Yep.
To a Disney employee. So, no, I mean, I think he was one of those names that, if I'm honest, I don't know a lot of Imagineers. Like, if somebody said name me 10 Imagineers, I'd probably struggle a bit, to be honest. But he was one of those, like Tony Baxter is another one that I know quite well and like his work, and obviously Rhodey as well. But there's not many that I can think of off the top of my head, and he was certainly a name that you heard a lot about. Was he involved in Pirates as well?
Yeah, I believe.
Thinking that?
Well, I think he was around.
Right.
I don't think he had a huge influence on the ride itself, but I think he was around at the time that it was.
Yeah, I think Mark Davis was heavily involved in Pirates, wasn't he?
Right.
Mark Davis, Extencio were the two main.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah.
So R.I.P. Marty Sklar.
Yeah, I mean he was 83, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Remember reading that? So I mean, he had a good innings. So he did have that, and he obviously achieved a lot in those 83 years. So, always a shame when somebody dies, but he's got a long legacy. He's got his window, and he did a lot of great things. So, rest in peace. Well done. Paul, was there anything you?
Yeah, I've got a couple of bits. Something you never thought you'd hear on Does After Dark, but
I don't know. We've said some really random stuff on this show.
We have reported by Sky Sports this morning that Michael Eisner will have purchased Portsmouth Football Club by the start of the season.
Wow!
Blimey.
I think we talked about this months ago when it was first kind of rumoured, but it had all gone a bit quiet over there as the song goes. So it's actually happening.
Yeah, should be completed this week.
Why?
God knows. He's worth $1 billion and he's buying Portsmouth.
By us?
He's got a PlayStation. He's just thinking, well, what else do I need?
If he needs a podcast, we're up for sale.
Or sponsorship, Budweiser.
For the right price, yeah. Wow. So is he doing this as part of some kind of sports consortium?
Well, he was the one that started all the Anaheim Ducks. That was his idea, and he bought the Los Angeles Angels as well, I believe, under the Disney banner. So it's not unknown for him to be involved in sports companies. So it's just a strange choice when he could have picked someone like LA or.
Yeah, it is odd. I mean, I suppose American soccer, as they call it, are still not really taken off. Like, I'm sure I just saw that the biggest transfer has been completed in Major League Soccer history, and I think it was about $2 million.
Yeah.
When
they have a limit on what they can spend, they're given a drafting fee every year.
Right, it's like American football.
Yeah.
Okay, but $2 million. I mean, $2 million or £2 million in the English league would probably buy you someone with one leg. Do you know what I mean? Like it would buy you. It wouldn't buy you somebody.
Andy Carroll.
No. Well, I mean, is he worth that? Possibly in his injury days, but I'd even struggle to see if he'd get that much money now. But it just seems it still hasn't taken off there. So I kind of get why you'd go bigger. And I mean, the Chinese football scene at the moment seems to be going through a bit of a boom, but I expect that bubble to burst quite soon. But it's just Portsmouth's just an odd one. Just very, very odd. I mean, I suppose they're not doing too bad. I mean, they're a Premier League club, aren't they? So, yeah.
League One.
Oh, League One?
Yeah.
Hang on, sorry. Portsmouth or Bournemouth? Who am I thinking?
Bournemouth are Premier League.
Yeah, I can't help it. They're similar places, aren't they? I'm saying that just to get a load of abuse. Yeah, it's...
You know what he could do rather than buying football clubs? He could actually be Iger's replacement. Oh.
Right, you really do want us to get hate, don't you? I was only looking to get hate from two parts of the UK. You're just trying to get the world to hate us.
But the thing is, you see, would he have signed off on a load of blue Smurfs running around Animal Kingdom? Because the blue Smurfs, I can tell you now, if they're giving away food in the restaurants and they're also giving away hotel rooms right now, that will tell you what the attendance is like right now in Central Florida for Disney.
Whoa. Let's go back a few steps. What is
Yeah.
So hang on. So they're giving away food in Animal Kingdom?
No. I'm just saying the 30% discount.
Oh,
they've never done 30% discount, as much as I've ever known.
Yep.
Then they've got these deals on for summer and autumn for really cheap hotel rooms. So you just know that Avatar is not setting the world on fire.
Well, you know what? Is it Avatar, or is it the continued price increases,
or the 5 or 6 years of not building anything in particular?
Well, that as well.
More popular than Trump.
It's Trump in the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah, it could be.
Because the thing is,
it's keeping away in droves.
Well, this is the thing. At least when Eisner was in the big chair, every year he was building something, wasn't he? Hotels, rides, theme parks. You know, he's always building something and doing something.
Yeah, he built Disneyland Paris.
Exactly. Where would we be without that?
Would still be in England.
Anybody can make a mistake.
Well, I never understood the sports thing because, I mean, on one hand I did because, The Mighty Ducks was a popular series of films. And with the Los Angeles Angels, there was also a Disney film, wasn't there? It was Angels in the Outfield. There was some kind of crossover there as well. So I kind of got it, but, I mean, both of those teams were terribly ran. And eventually they sold them at a loss, if I remember correctly. I mean, I think they both retained their names, but they had to change their logos a little bit, although not that much. I mean, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim logo, I think, is still quite similar, isn't it?
It hasn't changed much, I don't think.
I only say that because I was in Primark the other day, and they've got a Mighty Ducks style hockey T-shirt. It's not a hockey jersey. It's quite weird. It looks like a hockey jersey, but it's clearly a T-shirt. I'm going to look at there. Sorry, I'm trying to type in Mighty Ducks.
Careful.
My phone. Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Unfortunately, I wasn't really paying attention. I was touch typing and typed in something else instead. Although, in my defence, the D and F are right next to each other. So that's what I'm saying. What's the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim's logo now?
Sure, it's still the same. I don't think it's much different.
Yeah, is it the duck hockey mask?
Yeah.
Crossed sticks, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the famous. Oh no, it has changed. It's now. God, I don't even. Do you know what it looks like now? It looks like a gold Hadouken. That's what the logo looks like now, like a gold Hadouken. It's the only way I can describe it. It's very, very bizarre. But the actual, I still think they used that logo in bits and pieces. Still in some merchandise. They sold it in 2005, and then changed the name of the team to the Anaheim Ducks because they were the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Mm-hmm. In fact, the club was founded in 1993. So
by Disney.
Yeah. So actually, they didn't buy it. That wasn't a thing they bought.
No. That was his creation.
Yeah. Okay.
But he didn't make the movie, did he?
Well,
the movie had already been made before he came to Disney, I think.
It was under his watch. No, no. Eisner must have been.
He would have been there by then.
Yeah. Was Eisner late?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, Eisner was...
I'll Google it.
I'm sure I read that...
Eisner was 84.
Yeah, it was after Beverly Hills Cop that he was there.
Was he responsible for that?
I'm almost certain he was working for Paramount at the time. So, yeah.
I like Beverly Hills Cop.
I watched... so the conversation about it today, I watched Beverly Hills Cop 2 and 3 last night. I caught the end of 2 and watched some of 3 while I was doing some ironing.
Well, that's machete order, isn't it?
machete order for Beverly Hills Cop is to forget there's a third one, to be honest. That's where it got terrible. But there was a line in it, and I mean, this is 1993, and there's a bit in the film where he is framed for shooting one of the main characters in it, and he's kind of like trying to keep being conspicuous. And when he's walking around the street, I mean, it's a ridiculous scene anyway. But the guy turns around to his wife and he goes, "Hey, did you hear some black guy shot Uncle Dave?" And I thought, how bizarre that in a film somebody's written a line where the emphasis has been on the race of the person that shot somebody rather than the actual story itself, which is somebody's been shot. And then about 2 minutes later, like he goes into a bar or something, and someone has the same conversation and says, "Hey, did you just see that some blog shot Uncle Dave?" And I thought, that makes more sense. That's more realistic. But why would the emphasis be on a black person shooting him? That's
very
part of the
bad
story,
exposition.
but yeah, just weird. Anyway, going off topic.
He walks in the bar and they all go, "Hey, look, there's a black guy. He must have shot him."
That's right. That's what happens. But I don't blame Michael Eisner for that because he wasn't at Paramount at the making of Beverly Hills Cop 3. But yes, I wonder about the Los Angeles Angels. But either way, I don't think their record of Michael Eisner's record of having sports teams worked out particularly well. So I'm not sure. Could you imagine if he changed the name of them? Because that can happen, can't it?
Yeah.
If he owns the club, he could go to the FA and request a change of name, couldn't he?
Like the Hull Tigers.
Yeah, which are still not called the Hull Tigers, are they?
No.
I think the chairman.
Call them that.
Yeah, I think the chairman refers to them as that, but no one else recognises that. And also, of course, MK Dons. Yeah, I mean they were obviously Wimbledon at the time when they became the MK Dons. When they moved the club, was it 70 miles away or something? I don't know.
Well, you know the Red Sox. They could become the Southampton Scarlet Sox.
It's very possible.
It's an idea.
Yeah, send it over to him.
Emailing him now.
Please do. I'd say it's from Craig Lucas, just in case. Yeah, well, that's weird. So it's gonna be ending quite soon then.
This week, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Because their season starts on Saturday.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we've sportsed out. So, Mr. P-Dubs, you had something else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the reopening of Rivers of America and the Disneyland Railroad, and the welcome return of Fantasmic at Disneyland. Finally had its full opening this weekend, I believe. Just gone.
Am I right in that they've changed some bits of Fantasmic?
They have. There's now a scene with Aladdin and Jasmine on the magic carpet. Doesn't go anywhere. It just sits on the stage. And they put some fog underneath it to make it look like it's floating above the clouds.
You know what I would have loved, even more than that, is if they just stuck a carpet over a little tiny boat.
And just floated it along the river.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that would have... It actually probably would have looked better. But they've taken out... It's no longer Peter Pan and the pirates on the Columbia anymore. It's now...
That's a shame.
Now Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, so they've still got the ship then?
Yeah, the ship's still part of it, but now it's it's Captain Jack saving Keira Knightley's character, and her name has completely gone out of my... Elizabeth Swann. Having to save Elizabeth Swann from the skeleton pirates.
Okay.
Right. Okay, that might be okay.
Yeah.
But that... I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but that scene versus Walt Disney World, that was, to me, that was a really good scene where the ship appears.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shocker.
And so the Disneyland Railroad.
Yes.
I've never been on it because I've never been to Disneyland. And you know what? I don't think I've been on the Disneyland Railroad in Disney World either. Actually, I've only done it in Paris. So does it have like scenes as you go around?
It does. It goes through. It's got a Grand Canyon scene. It's also got. It goes back to the age of the dinosaurs as well in one of the scenes.
Okay.
But it gives you very good views of where Star Wars Land is going.
Okay.
Because that's the reason why it's been closed. The berm had to be moved because of Star Wars. And you can see now Star Wars Land at Disneyland has 3 entrances. Not just the supposed 2 that people were talking about. It's actually got a 3rd.
I can hear Craig
entrances.
Desperately not to make any comments.
No one on this podcast has 3 entrances tonight. So we're all...
That's true. That's true. Yes. Just the 2. Okay. So how long had it been down for then?
It's been down for 9 months, I think.
Oh, okay.
So it was late last year that it went down.
Right. Okay.
So it's been a long time coming. The canoe boats are back on the rivers of America as well. So, and the Mark Twain running once more.
Well, if that doesn't bring everyone, those 3 things, if that doesn't bring them back to Disneyland in huge numbers, what possibly could? Other than, of course,
these
Avatar.
Disneyland fans.
They do love a slow-moving train around the parks. If they're the fans that I know.
Can I tell you something else about those trains?
Mm-hmm.
One of them has got the word Ripley written on it.
Why so?
Because Walt bought it off a bloke called Ripley.
Believe it or not.
Believe that or not.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just Googling it now. I can't remember the first name. E.P. Ripley is written down one of the trains. Locomotive number 2 on the Disneyland Railway was purchased in 1954 by Walt Disney from E.P. Ripley.
I just assumed that they'd been made. I didn't think
he was my great. No, he wasn't.
Great stranger.
A stranger's just a friend you haven't met. As a streetcar named as Zyla Musical taught us in The Simpsons. Right, now, I think we've held this off for long enough. Mr. Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed to be a bit angry the other day. About something.
Well, in retrospect, I don't think I should be, but I think I should.
Well, in that case, I'll hit the music.
We have a jingle?
Well, I mean, there was a jingle for Soap Dishes Soapbox. I'll just use that.
It's Soap Dishes Soapbox!
Okay.
But the floor is now yours.
Okay. Let's pretend that we just had the jingle then.
Oh, no, you don't have to pretend. Well, yes, you do have to pretend because you can't hear it, but it will be in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you have to do some post work, that's fine.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is my soapbox. So bear with me on this one. It was. Where should I start?
At the beginning, it's probably a good place.
See, I'm well prepared for this, as you can tell. All right. There's in Anaheim, in Los Angeles, is the Disney Studios, where the studios that Walt built, where to this day they make all the animated features, where they've got the famous. What do they call the canteen in a film studio?
Commissary,
where Walt used to have his egg and chips, or whatever it was he used to have for lunch every day.
Nachos for 10.
Nachos for 10. $85.
Secret menu item.
Nachos for 10, isn't that what I have on University Challenge? Sorry. Okay. That's why I don't.
It's obviously where that big building is that's got the 7 dwarfs out the front holding the roof up, where
course.
Emperor Iger sits and makes all of his business decisions.
Honest to God, I just get this vision of Bob Iger now sitting in a chair with a hooded cloak,
Oh yeah,
laughing
definitely.
manically. Yeah.
Well, he is the Emperor. No one can get rid of him now.
Touche.
He's even killed his successors, hasn't he? So
that is also true.
Anyway, before we get sued, moving on. I was very, 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 very lucky to be able to have a tour of those studios because they are not open to the public and they really never have been, pretty much. And in doing so, it involved quite an elaborate process of joining D23, which D23, if you are in America, D23 is a very easy, simple process just to join
Correct.
that club. If you live in the UK, as most of us here know, it is incredibly expensive. And the magazine and the bits that they send you, you have to wait a very long time to receive anything from them.
I was a D23 member 2009, 10-ish, something around that time, and I would get the D23 magazine promoting the films, which at that point had then kind of been and gone by the time I got the magazines.
Oh, DVD.
Yeah. Almost.
And Betamax.
Yeah, you're getting John Carter stuff come through, and it's already been ripped to shreds by the critics.
Yeah, I do remember getting a magazine about that, just hyping it up just after the movie had come out, and it was clearly about 3 months behind, if nothing more.
This month's edition, Song of the South.
Well, anyway, I joined it purely because I knew I'd be in LA and they were opening up for the first time, or one of the first times, D23 tours of that studio.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to be in one of those tour groups, so I joined the club, got my membership number. I was poised at midnight when they put because you have to buy these things, these are extra obviously, so I was poised at midnight, ready for the availability, got on at midnight, managed to bag 2 tickets, so then when I was out in LA in a few months' time, I could go to the studios, which I did. And whilst on the studio tour, they show you all of the... to be honest with you, it's a bit of a boring tour, other than the fact that you're in their actual working studio. So the interesting things of note, you'll see obviously where all of the Saving Mr. Banks stuff was filmed. Mm-hmm. You can see where Walt used to sit and ponder and think about things. But then there's a lot of stuff like these offices are rented to this corporate, and this office is where legal is, and this is where technical are, and anything to do with like the actual animated films your Frozen, your Moana, and all those kinds of things. They're sort of tucked well away, and you won't see any of that.
Yeah.
But you did see the Legends, the Disney Legends, what they call it, avenue or patio area. I don't know what they call it, with all the different nice barbecue.
The Disney Legends patio area.
Available for barbecues
and bar mitzvahs. So you got to see that, and you saw some other cool stuff, and it probably lasted about 2 or 3 hours. In fact, the really cool thing for me was they were doing reshoots the day we were there for Guardians of the Galaxy, because they were adding in the Thanos bit at the end of the film.
Right.
So that was definitely an afterthought, because they were filming it there after it had wrapped production in the UK.
Hang on, so they do have sound stages there then?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So one of the first films they filmed there was actually Mary Poppins.
Oh.
Yeah, and some of the more recent ones have been mostly things for reshoots, for trailers for Disney Channel, things like that. I mean, another famous one is they had Home Improvement there for God knows how many years. That was filmed there. Anyway, at the end of the tour, there was this bungalow. It was a bungalow, and it was the Disney Studios store. And inside, for Disney staff only and people on this tour, you could go in and you could buy Disney Studios stuff, which was branded Disney Studios. And it's the only place in the world you can buy Disney Studios Anaheim stuff. So based on that, I did buy a few bits and pieces. I bought some stuff for my desk. I bought some nice pens. They had some nice notepads and diaries.
Did you buy the Director Mickey Vinylmation?
No.
I do have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes from... I'm almost certain it comes from the same shop, because you couldn't buy it anywhere.
No, you can't. And a lot of people do the tour just to go to that store and then put it all on eBay. So that does happen.
Okay.
Anyway, this was about 3 or 4 years ago. Skipping forward to last week, it was my birthday.
It was. I think I wish.
Any happy returns? No.
Happy birthday.
I wish you had a birthday.
And my brother presented me with a Disney Studios, I don't know what you call it, like a leather-bound folder.
Is this
and it was
about A5 size?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Carry on.
And it had written on it, Walt Disney Studios.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to him, oh, thanks for this. How much did you pay on eBay for it? He went, I didn't buy it on eBay. I went, what, come again? He went, I bought it in Blue Water. I was like, nah, you didn't. This is from eBay. No, I bought it from Blue Water in the Disney store. I was like, no, this is Disney Studios branded stuff. You don't buy this in Blue Water in the Disney store. He went, no, I did. So anyway, I happened to be in Blue Water the other day, and in the corner of the Disney store in Blue Water is shitloads of Disney Studios branded merchandise.
Yeah.
The Disney, if you're going to charge a premium and sell site-specific stuff, sell it at that site. Don't sell it everywhere.
How does it make you feel, Chris?
I feel. Do you know what? I'm close to writing a letter.
It makes you mad.
It is, and then this is why I'm going to start saying that Eisner needs to come back, because you wouldn't have got that under Eisner's watch.
Now, and of course, Eisner's watch is from Walt Disney Studios.
He's probably got a very nice watch.
Probably has. I bet it's probably not Disney branded.
It's Portsmouth now. The Portsmouth watch.
Now, what's quite funny about that, Mr. Ripley? Because I had no idea. All you said the other day was you had a little bit of a to do with the Disney store, which, quite funny enough, took up about 30 seconds of your actual story, which I loved. By the way, I loved that story. But what's interesting is I've not been in a Disney store for about a month or two, maybe. Mm-hmm. And on Thursday, as some of you would have seen on the Facebook group, I went into London and played a game of tag with a man called Ian Lee, who's a bit of a celebrity in the UK. And after we'd finished playing tag in the park with him and a few other people, I was in London, so I thought, I don't get up here very often anymore, work from home a lot. I'm going to make the most of it. And Hyde Park is near Oxford Street, literally across the road. So I took a 10-15 minute stroll down there to go to the Disney store. And I walked downstairs into where is normally like the kiddie bit of Disney store, like the young like children's stuff down there and princesses and whatnot. And I saw a similar section that you were just describing, which is why I asked about the size of the book that your brother had got you, because I've got to be honest, I didn't notice it was Disney Studios. What I did notice was it was bloody nice, and all this stuff was a bit posh because it looks quite grown up. That's probably the nicest way I can say it. And what I mean by that is it wouldn't go amiss in an office space. Whilst most Disney stuff is a bit outlandish and a bit in your face at times, a bit brash, this stuff is all quite deluxe looking. Yeah. It looks quite professional, that's what I mean. And so that's why I took notice of it. And they had I don't know if they had as many bits as they did in Blue Order, but they had a few different things. They had a book and they had some desk stationery and stuff like that. But I didn't even put two and two together that that's what it was. Yeah. Wow. So theories, they've probably over-ordered at the studios and thought, well, we're not getting enough D23 tours through here anymore because all the super nerds have been on them. It would make sense if what they were doing was they were doing like a range of. Because if there's one thing, and I mean going back to the early days of this podcast when it was me and Mr. D and another Paul, who's not on here now, but may come again once Christmas comes around. I had a soapbox rant about the fact that Disney Store didn't have enough stuff for adults, in my opinion, especially compared to what you get in the parks. But this seems to be the first time in all that time that they've actually had that focus again. Now, if they were doing this like a limited edition run, and the stuff was branded to, but was different to the stuff you'd get in that store, I'd be completely fine with that. But if it's actually the merchandise that they've got there, I think is like I agree with you. It's a cop out. It's a massive cop-out. I mean, you wouldn't expect to find Disneyland Paris stuff in the Disney store. Well, you sometimes do. In fact, if you go online, you can actually buy quite a lot of Disneyland Paris stuff. They don't tend to sell it in the store, but if you go on the Disney Store website, they do sell quite a lot of Disneyland Paris merchandise. For example, in London, in the London store, they do sell both Cogsworth and Lumiere, which have only been park exclusive till now. But they do sell them in a Disney store in London and online. It's kind of interesting that they've shipped that stuff from California all the way to England to sell it. That's what's weird about it. Yeah, obviously they don't want to sell it in the States, or they certainly probably don't want to sell it in California anywhere near the studios. You'd have thought they'd just stuck it in the outlets or something if they're going to do that. That surely would have made more sense. I have to see if I can find out any more information about that. But what you just made an interesting point there. So you wouldn't expect to see Disneyland Paris stuff sold in Disney stores. Would you then expect to see Disneyland Paris stuff being sold in the French Pavilion at Epcot? I have seen them selling Euro Disney stuff in Epcot. Really? When it was Euro Disney. That makes sense. And the reason why I bring that up is because if you go to the China Pavilion right now, you can buy Shanghai opening day merchandise. Wow. Somebody spotted it last week and had various bits and pieces. I think things mainly like fridge magnets from what I can remember, that kind of stuff. But they had Shanghai Disney grand opening merchandise on sale in the Chinese Pavilion. In the store there. And that, I think, is just as bad. I mean, okay, it's in a Disney park, but really, surely the whole purpose of having stuff from Shanghai or from Tokyo Disney or wherever is that you have to be there to get it. If you could just go into a Disney store and buy something from, like in America, and buy stuff from Shanghai Disney or Disneyland Tokyo or Disneyland Paris, it would, like, to me, that wouldn't feel special. And I think that's the point you're getting at, really, is that by being able to go into a Disney store and just buy something that's supposed to be exclusive to somewhere else, it takes the magic away a little bit.
Yeah,
I suppose.
I mean, if they sold Aulani stuff in the Polynesian resort, that would be a bit much, wouldn't it?
Well, to be honest, I think if they'd be happy to sell it anywhere at the moment. You know, Poundland is coming calling.
Tell you what I did buy in Aulani. It wasn't branded to them at all, but I bought these Vinylmation Mickeys from the shorts.
Oh yeah, what, the ones that are they're not Vinylmations.
No,
in the strictest sense, but they're branded Vinylmation.
Yeah, so they're not in that shape, that typical animation shape. They're just miniature figurines of Mickey from the shorts, and they're really good. I put them on the I've dotted them about the house on different window ledges and things.
I've not seen them. I don't know if they've made it to Disneyland Paris, but I'm not a big fan of the shorts, so I like any of that stuff, to be honest. Any merchandise from those shorts. We've got from the Disney store, we bought a set of mugs of the characters in that style. So they're 3D mugs, so they're proper faces. I think they do a new range now, which are normal shaped mugs with, you know, pictures of them on, but these are shaped to their heads. So we've got a Goofy and a Donald and a Minnie and a Mickey and I think a Daisy. Pretty sure we've got all of them. But I like the short stuff. So yeah, those Vinylmations, although I don't really refer to them as Vinylmations, that, you know, they brand them as such and they're pretty cool. So slightly jealous of those. But yeah, it's an interesting point, because I'm like you. I think it should be. It's a nice memento. You know, going back to like the Cogsworth and Lumiere, they don't really. To me, I don't see why they can't be sold elsewhere, because they're not specific to a park. But if I had something with Disneyland Paris written on it that I could just buy anywhere, it wouldn't have that same feeling.
Yeah.
Same memory.
The thing with it was that when we were in the actual store, that's what the people that were working in there were sort of spouting, that this stuff is unique to this. If you know, this is your one and only chance to ever be in this store. You know, all this stuff. We get cast members that come here and they buy loads of stuff for their families, and so.
I mean, I get it. Stuff can change, and you know, just because something's limited one day doesn't mean it'll be limited the next. It's like the Run Disney shoes that they make, those really expensive New Balance trainers that they do every year for Run Disney. I know that, I think they're about $200 or something when they come out. They're quite expensive, but I know last year they hit the outlets a few months after they'd launched. And it was whatever stock they obviously had left, but they couldn't. There was only certain outlets that had them. So basically, if it was a Disney Store outlet that wasn't near a park, it could sell them. So like you wouldn't have found them on iDrive, but you would have found them at another Disney outlet further away. I mean, I don't know where all the Disney outlets are, to be honest.
Well, I wondered if, responding to your original soapbox about them, you know, not having enough adult stuff in the store, I wondered if perhaps this is like a new brand of office furniture, office stationery, that they're just calling it the studios. And
well, that's. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. You know, to me, what's important here is this the exact same stuff that you saw in the shop, or is this like that stuff? Because if it's like that stuff, and what they're doing is this new executive range, then I don't really have too much of a problem with it. But if it is the stuff that was in that place, designed for them, then I think it's a cop-out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I might... I would do it now, but I'm not the best at multitasking. and we've already looked up at cans of chicken tonight. So
that's enough.
yeah. So I'm not going to look up anything else. But it'll be interesting to see if it's on the Disney Store website and what it says, because sometimes if it's a new range if they have like a range of stuff on there, they normally describe what the range is for, what it's been based out of. Only thing is, the parks have always had a bit more of executive stuff than you'd get in a Disney Store anyway. It's not new to have stuff like this, but it's the first time I've seen it in a Disney store rather than at a Disney park, and that's the key difference. But yeah, well, if anyone can compare, if anyone has got a book from the studios and has seen what they saw in the Disney stores in the UK, let us know how they compare. I do miss D23, but in the UK it's so expensive.
I don't know why it is though. Why is that? It doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, I'm almost, if I remember rightly, I think I used to have to pay about $15 shipping for the magazine.
Yeah, but
and that was on top of the membership.
I know people that get those, what do they call them, nerd boxes or whatever they're called, you know?
Loot crates and stuff like that.
That's it, them. And a lot of them come from America. Yeah, well, a lot of them come from America, a lot of them come from Canada, and they don't pay any extra shipping on those.
No, it's very odd. Although, that's the thing that's annoyed me now. Like Disney do their own version. Disney's version doesn't ship out of America. They've done a few. They did one, I think, for the Haunted Mansion last year. They were selling boxes on a Disney Store there, and they also did one for Zoom Zooms. Mm-hmm. And in both of those, you would only get stuff you could buy in these boxes. So I bought one. I paid a stupid amount of money, like an idiot, for one for my daughter, because it was an Alice in Wonderland one, and it was the only way that she could get a Dinah, the cat. Now, I've still not given this to her because she's kind of gone off Tsum Tsums. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But I had to buy that, get it shipped to somebody in America who then had to ship it again. So basically I had to pay the shipping twice. And it's a real pain. But those boxes, now the whole idea about loot crates, and I think the only person on this podcast that might have ever had a loot crate is P-Dubs. Have you ever had a loot crate?
I haven't, no. Weirdly, though, I actually got given a T-shirt from one the other day.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But I haven't, just due to the import duties and things like that are just ridiculous.
You don't get them?
No,
you don't.
It depends on how you're doing it.
No, if you order a loot crate in the UK to be shipped to you, it doesn't get imported. And I don't know if that's because it's dispatched in Europe or not. But yeah, I've had a few loot crates. I've only bought a couple, but never had a customs charge. I don't know if it's because of the value they declare on it or how they ship it, but either way, actually you're right buying a loot crate. Just in case anyone else has been put off by them. But when you buy a loot crate, the idea is that whatever's in that crate is exclusive to them, and if you don't buy it by the deadline, there's no chance of buying it again, and you can't get the stuff. Now, what they have started doing is they will themselves sell items individually from those crates later on, so it defeats the object. And then the other day I went into a Home Bargains and they had a series of figures, like little models. They weren't actually action figures, but little models that were Loot Crate exclusive. They were selling in Home Bargains for like £4. They had Deadpools and Hulks and Batmans and all sorts. So, what is exclusive anymore? The word exclusive doesn't seem to actually mean anything anymore. It's like limited edition. They put limited edition on stuff. How many times have you seen limited edition on something and there's been no actual size of edition? Because you used to always get that. You know, this is limited to 1 of 1,000 or something. But I see lots of stuff now that's just as limited edition. And what does that mean? Or, the other way around, I've got a limited edition Harry Potter box set, which is one of about 85,000. Is that really limited? 85,000?
Yep, it's limited.
Well, yeah, okay. There's only 85,000.
It's not very exclusive.
Yes. No, that's it. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, it's just it's a marketing ploy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But things that are limited edition that had no actual number on, or even worse. I bought films that have said limited edition, and thought I'd better go and buy it now, because how long is it going to be out for? Well, 4 years later, I can still walk into HMV and buy it. So how limited was that? Right. Well, thank you very much, though, Chris. That was interesting.
Could I make just one final plea?
Make as many pleas as you want.
If probably around 100 people find a cinema that's still showing Beauty and the Beast, the 2017 version, and pay a ticket to go and see that film, Beauty and the Beast, by a whisper, will take over all-time gross and will cap Frozen's record.
Wow.
You might not even have to do that if you've got an unlimited card.
Yeah.
And you just book a ticket, even if you don't go and see it.
Well, I wonder if, because I'm pretty sure they'll be showing that as like kid screenings at a weekend, because they still, although it's out on Blu-ray now, they still do that of a Saturday morning. They still put on slightly older films for kids. I know definitely that the Prince Charles in London, it's a very famous cult cinema in London that shows more often than not more unusual films. They had been showing recently, I'm not sure if they're doing it at the moment, but they had been doing sing-along versions of Beauty and the Beast. So that's interesting.
And then currently it's the 10th most watched film worldwide gross. It's at 1.2 billion. And Frozen's number 9.
So how much does it need to be Frozen?
Oh, only 10 point something million. No,
not a huge deal then. Or if you're rich, you can just hire out the cinema, and get them to put on whatever film you want, and that's another way of doing it, I suppose. But it's interesting. I wonder if it's not opened up in any markets yet. Because I know there was a few markets that had delayed it, like Russia was one, wasn't it? And I think Malaysia had put a kibosh on it as well because of that gay scene, that possibly gay 2 seconds of film. If it even lasted that long.
I mean, it's not even that, in my opinion, but
no, it's. My daughter had it on the other day, and I come down and just caught the last few minutes of that film, and I was watching it, and you literally blink and you miss it, isn't it? I honestly think if they hadn't mentioned it, no one would have ever batted an eyelid. I really don't think. I think that was the biggest mistake. I mean, in some ways, maybe it helped because maybe. Well, I don't know. Do we honestly think people that are gay weren't going to go and see Beauty and the Beast? Like it's never. What I mean by that is it's never been something that's like alienated gay people, is it?
Exactly.
And it's a musical, and the stereotype is, of course, that a lot of gay people like musicals. But I really think that it probably hindered it a little bit more than it actually. And we know that from the extreme Christians that kicked off about it in America as well. They refused to go and see it. So I think it would, if anything, probably did more damage to it than it should have done. Which is a shame. No, just because you mentioned film, one quick thing was you finally got to see Spider-Man yesterday.
I did. Yeah, finally, after all these weeks and months of trying to see it and just being too busy.
Well, it's been out less than a month. Don't worry.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. All right.
Only
it
come
seems
out.
like I was the only one in the world that hadn't seen it.
I think it came out on like the 2nd of July or something over here. So it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Best Spider-Man film they've ever made, and probably, well, definitely in my top 3 of Marvel films.
Did you see it in Tudor or Thudder?
I saw it in Tudor, which is the new way of seeing films, I believe. And I saw the post-credit sequence as well, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, Michael Keaton, at the moment, has got this renaissance, hasn't he? He is absolutely hitting it out of the park in every film.
He's the new Matthew McConaughey,
in
my opinion. in terms of career redemption. I remember the first film that me and my now wife went to see at the cinema, and I mean this is always a problem when you first start dating. If anyone can remember that far back, is cinema's a popular choice for a first date, I think. And I said to her, I like films, so if you want to go to cinema, that'd be a good idea. And she was like, yeah. And I said, okay, well, I'll let you choose what we go and see. And she said, oh, I've heard this film's supposed to be quite good called White Noise. And I was like, okay.
Oh.
So I didn't know anything about it, but I'd seen like a couple of TV spots for it, and I was like, okay. And that was the first film I'd seen Michael Keaton be in quite a long time. He seemed to really disappear for a long time and not really appear in anything. I think around the time that came out was when Herbie had come out, because he was in that Herbie remake, wasn't he? Or reboot?
Oh, was he?
Yeah. He was in Fully Loaded.
Blimey.
Now, obviously, best remembered as being the name of a decent KFC box meal. But before that, Fully Loaded.
I thought you were going to say the nickname for Lindsay Lohan.
Well, she's also normally fully loaded nowadays. But
or wagon wheel covered in nachos.
That is also fully loaded. And so White Noise was the first one I've seen Michael Keaton in a long time. And the film was distinctively average and not very memorable. But I remember liking him in it and thinking, I wish he did more films. And then he kind of had a little bit of a comeback with Birdman, the most disappointing film I think I've ever seen. I'm
watching that this weekend, so...
Oh dear.
I think, look, as long as you just realise this, it's not a superhero film. And I think as long as you understand that, you'll probably enjoy it. But
okay.
I saw the trailers leading up to it coming out, and what the trailers were showing you and what the film was are two completely different things. In an age where trailers ruin films to the point that I have often not gone to see films because of seeing the trailer too many times, that was the complete opposite. So,
but how many people can say they've been the Batman, the Birdman, and the Vulture?
Yeah, exactly. Although he's not been Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. So there's still hope for him yet for another bird-related role.
But he has been Beetlejuice. So when is he going to become back and be Beetlejuice?
Well, there's been a script going around for the last 20 years of Beetlejuice Goes Hawaii. And
Beetlejuice would suit Hawaii, I'll be honest with you.
Beetlejuice goes to Alani.
That's what it could be now. I mean,
that would liven that place up, that's for sure.
Michael Keaton has always said he's open to it, and Tim Burton has hinted that he'd be interested in it as well. But just go ahead and do the damn film. That's what I say.
I'll tell you what happened, right? This is crystal ball, right? Tim Burton's doing Dumbo. It's going to be a massive flop. And he's going to be desperate. He's going to be on his knees. He's going to be like, please, Disney, I used to be your apprentice. Please, let's do something. And they'll be like, no, get out and don't let that door hit you on the way out. And as he's walking down Hollywood Boulevard in tears, somebody from Paramount's going to pick him up and go, hey, let's do Beetlejuice.
Well, the other thing as well is who's in Dumbo?
Johnny Depp.
Michael Keaton.
Oh.
So if that doesn't get the ball rolling,
now then.
If they're not sitting there on their lunch break in the food trucks or something like that, and not talking about how they're going to make Beetlejuice Go to Hawaii, they're doing it wrong, in my opinion. On a side note to you seeing Spider-Man, I went to see Dunkirk yesterday. It isn't very Disney related, but it's the biggest film in the world at the moment, pretty much. It did manage to hold off the Emoji Movie.
What?
Ironically, the Emoji Movie finished at number 2 in the box office. Ironic because
that is
number 2
in the world.
Number 2 does seem to be what people's opinion is generally of the Emoji Movie, and of course also the role that Patrick Stewart has in the Emoji Movie. He's a number 2. But yes, I went to see Dunkirk yesterday, and I had to go and see it very early in the morning, because I was worried that if I went to see it and it was going to be busy, I might be sobbing like an idiot and would show myself up in the cinema. And luckily, I was going alone, so my wife couldn't laugh at me afterwards. But I didn't cry. Now, this is from somebody who cried quite a few times during War of the Planet of the Apes. So, what does that tell you? I don't know. I'll be quite honest. I was not a fan of Dunkirk. Don't get me wrong. It was certainly better than the other film I watched yesterday, which was Batman vs Superman. Sorry, Lee. But I was really disappointed. I've got a very love-hate relationship with Christopher Nolan, but honestly, watching trailers for Dunkirk, I thought this looks amazing. And then my friend went to see it opening weekend and said, "You're going to love it." And everyone that I've seen talk about it mostly has been positive about it, but it just left me a bit cold, and I was really surprised. What won't come as a surprise is you will not understand 90% of Tom Hardy's dialogue.
Oh, what's new there?
Exactly.
Has he brought the Bane voice thing with him then, has he?
No, but he's wearing he's flying a plane, so he's wearing a mask. So Chris Nolan obviously doesn't like Tom Hardy's mouth being visible in a film. That's very apparent. He's obviously got an issue with that. But to be honest, I think it's the usual Hans Zimmer score of being really bass heavy and unnecessary a lot of the time. What I will say is, if you do go and see Dunkirk, see it in the best sound and screen size experience you can, because despite the soundtrack being shit, the actual sound effects I went to see it in Dolby Atmos, and hearing like bullets flying around past your head in all different directions is really unnerving and works really well. And it is a film that deserves to be seen on the big screen. What I will guess right now is watching it at home will be even more lackluster for me than seeing it on the big screen. I really
like Avatar.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm lucky in that I've got 3D TV and a 3D copy of Avatar, so I can watch Avatar in 3D and still be impressed by the effects. But if you watch Avatar in 2D, it is pony, absolutely pony. But yeah, I just think the screen size is what makes it an event. That's what it was. Like, Dunkirk was an event. I'm glad I saw it at the cinema, but I just don't think it's going to be a film that is going to be looked back at fondly in years to come, when people have digested it and are watching it on a smaller screen. Don't even think about watching it on a plane. Not because it'll make you uneasy, but just because the experience is going to be completely lost. You'd have snakes on a plane, that's fine. There's never any issue with snakes on a plane. If history taught us one thing, it's that snakes and planes go together and no calamity can ever happen. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, nothing could
ever
possibly go wrong with that plane.
Not at all. Snakes can safely travel on planes with no danger to anyone. But yeah, I was just a little bit lost at sea with Dunkirk. Yeah. There's your pun. But going, if you at the end of the day, I seem to be in a minority here. People that didn't enjoy it, so just go and see it on a big screen. That's all I'll say. If you're going to go and see it.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I'm going to try and see it again next week.
Oh, so you've seen Dunkirk?
Yeah.
And you disagree? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did really enjoy it. I mean, but then I'm a fan of that genre of movie. You know what I mean? I really liked Hacksaw Ridge. Thought that was fantastic. Saving Private Ryan. We still haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge. I really want to see it, but we haven't got around to seeing it yet. But that also looked good. I'd see what problem was with Dunkirk, and what I think is different with Hacksaw Ridge, according to people that have seen both, is what I didn't like about Dunkirk was there didn't seem to be any character development. I know it sounds like such a stupid thing, but I think the reason why I felt so cold was because I didn't really care about the characters, which is stupid. But I was trying to describe it to the wife, and I said, like, when you go and watch Titanic, although it's a bloody long film, in that 3 hours or so, you understand the characters and you get their backstory and you get to experience stuff with them. Whilst in Dunkirk, these people are just there and you don't know anything about them. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I did care about a couple of the characters, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, there was one character I cared about.
It's a strange film, really. It's hard to put your finger on,
and it's well done. I mean, I think the way it's kind of 3 different timelines is interesting. That's not a spoiler, by the way, people. Like, you find that out within like the first 2 minutes of the film that there's different timelines going on, all leading up to the same thing. But you know, and that's quite clever in how that's done. But I just.
But to me, it is very much about telling the story of Dunkirk, really, rather than it's told through characters, obviously, like any film is, but it's more about the telling of the story than it is about the individual characters, if that makes any sense. So I know what you mean. There is a central character, I think.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of key characters, but there's one central character who's there at the beginning and at the end, and you do kind of care what happens to him, I think. But it's all against still telling the story from a couple of different perspectives of what Dunkirk's all about. And I don't know, maybe it sort of touches my patriotic side. But for me, you know, it works for me, but
it's definitely not been appreciated by the French. And about their involvement, they were quite upset about it.
Well, no.
Did you just one last thing, and we'll close. A lot of people have apparently complained about the sound, about dialogue, not just about Tom Hardy, just in general in the film. Did you find it was sometimes quite hard to hear what was being talked about?
I don't remember thinking that. But yeah, I'm going to try and see it again next week, so I'll watch out for that. But no, I don't remember thinking that. I mean, there are sections of the film where there isn't actually a lot of dialogue in it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got no issue with that either. I don't think a film needs to be dialogue heavy, but I think sometimes less is more. But sometimes there was probably need to have a bit more meat around it. But yeah, there was things that I struggled to hear a bit, and I just thought it was me being a bit deaf or something. But there's been a couple of cinemas in London. They've had loads of complaints about the sound, and to be honest, like The Dark Knight Rises was the same. A lot of people complained when that came out. I found it very hard to hear the dialogue over the soundtrack sometimes. I just think he needs to invest on new sound mixes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, it's enough.
Yeah, Batman.
Batman, let me take control of the city. Actually, that sounds more like Marvin the Martian than Batman.
I sound like Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah. Oh, he'd make a good Batman film. Batman, Superman kill themselves. Actually,
that sounded like Kermit. At least we'll get back to Disney again. Thank God for that.
There you go, Nick. You could be the new Kermit.
Yeah, well, it's almost a vacant role. It's not a vacant role, but I suppose if he's doing Kermit, I need someone to do Constantine. So I could probably do Constantine, as he's a lesser seen Muppet. Yes, maybe there's a career for me next. Right, well, thank you very much for joining us. Unfortunately, this is what happens when there's not a woman on the show. We kind of descend into a bit of chaos.
Sorry, Craig.
And go a little bit off topic. But thank you.
Yeah, you did say old woman, didn't you?
Well, that's what I was inferring to, yes. Rather than young. Who would have kept us in check as well, but not as much as Craig. Who was talking about Juliet Bravo earlier, just to really show his age. So I think a lot of people have to Google Juliet Bravo. But thank you for listening. And I'm not sure if there's a Universal After Dark coming out this week. We recorded the last ever Pop After Dark, which came out last Friday. That might be interesting. It was certainly an experience to record. So if you want to listen to that, I know that Adam complained of the same issues with Dunkirk as Pop After Dark. He couldn't understand a bloody word that was being said at times. But that's what happens when you record with Northerners. And there goes the other half of the country hating us. But there might be another Universal After Dark later this week, and there'll be another Diz After Dark probably next. So we'll see you then.
All right. Have a good one.
I'm Mary Poppins Show.
Tatty bye.
And we're out. Hi, and thank you for listening to this latest episode of This After Dark. It's always appreciated. I just wanted to say a quick thank you, if that's okay, because on the previous episode and even the start of this one, I talked a little bit about my son and him being recently diagnosed with autism. And I obviously talked about it from a personal point of view, but what I didn't talk about very much at all was the impact of my wife in this situation. And I mean, she's been integral to this. I think anyone that has somebody who's autistic will understand that to get a diagnosis is not particularly easy at any age, because it's such a big spectrum, and especially with a young child, it's even harder because I think people want children to have the chance to hit some of the things that you think they may not be, so things like speech. But she's always been pushing to make sure that he is being seen by the right people and to try and get a diagnosis. And I can honestly say, had she not done what she'd done, we probably wouldn't have had a diagnosis at this early age anyway, which is the best time for him to have that. Because the earlier that you can start work on this, the more chances of success. And she's just been fantastic. She's a wonderful mother anyway, but if it wasn't for her effort in this, then I don't think we'd have a result as we do at the moment. And also, she's helped me because by her doing this stuff, and also by going to classes and by taking him to support groups, she's been able to get a much better understanding of autism than I have, and I'm kind of getting my knowledge and advice from her. And she's also trying to learn Makaton later this year. Is that something that may help him be able to communicate? And she's also going on other courses as and when they come up to have a better understanding of what this condition is and what we can do to better our son's life. And the thing is, like, hosting this show, I obviously look at it from a point of view of, I'm talking about myself. But what I didn't want to do was take away the effort that she did. I mean, I think the phrase is behind every man is a great woman. And none more so is that true than with me, because, without her being such an incredible mother to both of our children, we wouldn't be as lucky and as blessed as we are. And Lincoln probably wouldn't be at the stage where he is if he didn't have somebody that was able to do what they could do. And I know it's tiring at times for her because he, doesn't want to leave her alone. And she just does so much for them. So I just wanted to say publicly that, how much her effort's appreciated. She might hear this, she might not. But whether she does or doesn't, that's not the important thing. It was more to just let you know that, it's down to my wife and her effort that we have the situation that we're in and that we're getting the right support, which is the most important thing out of everything, that we're getting the right support for our son. So, I know it's going to sound soppy. I love you very much if you do listen to this. And I don't want you to think for a second that I take that for granted, because you do so much, and you don't just make our kids better people, but you also make me a better person. And I just wanted to be quite open and explicit in just how big of an impact she has, because, it was obviously my feelings that I was talking about. And I may not have been, I may not have spoken about my wife and the effort, but we wouldn't be where we were if it wasn't for her. So,
yeah, I just wanted to say that. And that's it. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for entertaining me. Thank you for listening to this show. If you would like to support us and the other After Dark Podcast Network shows, please visit our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DisAfterDark. That's patreon.com/DisAfterDark. As well as supporting the show, there are other goodies available, including badges and soon t-shirts available, as a thank you for your support. This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast.